June 23, 1972, a day that changed women's lives forever. Senator Birch Bayh authored and sponsored Title IX and was the first person to introduce it to Congress. Before Title IX, athletic scholarships for women were rare, as was seeing women studying math or science. Female athletes were only allowed to compete as long as they didn't publicize any of their accomplishments. Female coaches did not receive any financial support and had to provide everything for their teams with their own money. Women found it extremely difficult to get into a good college, and even then it was nearly impossible to find a well-paying job. Title IX broke down the division between men and women and provided future generations with equal opportunities.
Title IX is a law that prohibits any federally funded organization from discriminating on the basis of sex. Title IX impacted women by providing them with equal opportunities in academics and athletics. Bayh's motivation to create Title IX was his late wife. He grew up in a family where women were given as many opportunities as the men were. Outside of his family, this was not the case. In high school, he fell in love with a woman who had never been held back because of her gender, but when she applied to her dream college, her application was returned with the no, women need not apply.
Because the Equal Rights Amendment was not successful, Birch Bayh continued to take a stand for women's rights. One of Birch Bayh's remarks on the Senate floor stated that we are all familiar with the stereotype of women as pretty things who go to college to find a husband, go on to graduate school because they want a more interesting husband, and finally marry, have children, and never work again. But the facts absolutely contradict these myths about the weaker sex, and it is time to change our operating assumptions.
On June 23, 1972, Richard Nixon signed Title IX into law. Women's spirits were lifted. Billie Jean King, one of the first women to be affected by Title IX, participated in the infamous Battle of the Sexes. This was a 1973 tennis match between Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs. The match was played shortly after Title IX was passed and was a turning point for women, showing them the opportunities Title IX gave them. Billie Jean King stated, "I just had to play. Title IX had just been passed, and I wanted to change the hearts and minds of people to match the legislation." Soon after the law was passed, the National Collegiate Athletic Association argued that if girls' sports had to be funded equally, boys' sports would suffer. Regulations on how to apply the law didn't go into effect until 3 years later, in 1975.
Before Title IX was passed, women had to motivate themselves. Because of Title IX, women were able to have coaches to push them and possibilities of college scholarships, just like men did. The Title IX had a large impact on female coaches. Prior to Title IX, female coaches provided their teams with their own personal money. Title IX was required schools to fund women's teams equally.
Women faced discrimination in an educational setting as well. Admission was made more difficult for women in order to prevent them from having a higher education. For example, a 1964 report of the Virginia Commission for the Study of Educational Facilities showed that 21,000 women were denied admission to Virginia's higher education system, but not a single man was denied admission. Birch Bayh wanted women to have the opportunities to go above and beyond in academics, an opportunity they wouldn't have had before Title IX was passed. Although women still face challenges in the path to equality, the opportunities they are provided with today have never been dreamed of by women 45 years ago. Birch Bayh stood up for women in hopes that one day they wouldn't even know what discrimination feels like.